amo na siya ang ato number part of the solution to this problem by staying in our own homes, in our own houses. As much as possible, hindi ani magsagay lagaw, kay tungod nga delikado ang magsagay sang lagaw. Kay nakita natin sa mga pag-studies ini nga virus, nga kung wala kita sa social distancing, mas dasig ang iya nga pag-infect, mas taas ang iya nga pag-surge. So, what we are trying to do by our social distancing is to flatten the curve. In other words, if eventually many people will be infected because that is the virus. No? That's why we are praying that you'll be spared from this. But if there's no social distancing, what happens now is that in a shorter period of time, there is a surge. It goes very high. The number of cases goes very high in a short span of time. Now, by social distancing, what do is we try to flatten the curve. Yan. Ganyan siya. That's the flow of over time. So if this is the number of cases and this is the time, if the y-axis in the graph is the number of cases and the x-axis is the number of is the time elapsed. No? So what happens is if there's no social distancing, in a short time, the number of cases goes very, very high. Now, the problem is our hospitals and our medical facilities can only cover certain amount of amount of cases. So, problema sang wala social distancing is that it will stress our system because hasta nandali ang kapasidad sa atong mga hospital. So, if we have no social distancing, what will happen? It will surge and it will even go higher than our capacity to medically take care of these cases. Pero if we have social distancing, we flatten the curve, which means that if this is the limit of our hospital capacity, if there's social distancing, what happens is we just flatten it. Yan, paganyan siya. Although there will be still many cases in the long run, but it will be spread throughout a longer period of time. And hopefully, it will not stress or overwhelm our hospital facilities and our medical staff and our medical supplies. There are many expressions of being church. It could be in the parish, that's another expression. In the BEC, that's another expression of being church. And one of the things that we often forget is that family is also a being church. So, now let's just look into the New Testament. Very interesting in the New Testament is that Jesus went to the houses of his disciples, and very good example of that is that he went to the house of Peter. If you go to Israel for a pilgrimage, one of the places that you will go to is the town of Capernaum, and we know that that is the place where Peter lived. And there in Capernaum, you will see there a church. But the church is not that beautiful because it looks like a spaceship, as you will see in the picture now. Down below are ruins, which is believed to be the spot where Peter lived. Now, in the excavation, you see there already the stages of what I'm talking about. It started as a house, bilang balay ni Pedro, pero katuod nga balay siya ni Pedro, ginimo nila nga simbahan man. So what you can see there, when this place was still just merely a house of Peter, it is in the stage of Domos Ecclesia. Because, of course, Jesus is there, he preached there, and they prayed there among the family members and even among the sick who came. So it's a church. Because, of course, wherever Jesus is, the church is there. And the next stage is very obvious here also, because they now enclose the spot with a octagonal church. So it is eight-sided church, and our archaeologists believe that this structure is a basic structure of a church. So the house of Peter Domos Ecclesia, became now Domos Ecclesiae. Why? Because the people now will go there and worship. But of course, it did not develop into a basilica. So, in the basilical phase. So, hanggang second stage na siya. Another very good example is the Dora Europos in Syria. It's a house church. Originally, it was just a normal house. As you can see in the picture are the ruins of Dora Europos. Between 233 and 256, it was converted to a house of worship. So you can see there are almost 3 parts there. The tripod, it looks like a tripod. There's a doorway, the other one is a doorway. Now this is an illustration of that place. So you can see that house, which is formerly a family home, is now converted into a church. You have there the baptistry, you can see in the picture, the courtyard, and the teaching area, and the assembly room where they conduct their religious services. So this is beautiful because it can give us a sense now that the house can be a place where the expression of being a church can happen. Let us look into the writings of Paul. I would like to refer you to Romans 16, verse 3 and 5. Now, Saint Paul here is writing to the church in Rome, but probably when he was writing this, he was in Corinth. So he said, "Greet Prisca and Aquila, who work with me in Christ. Greet also the church in their house." So you see, Prisca and Aquila are husband and wife. Prisca is the wife, Aquila is the husband. And they are tent makers, just like Paul. And they converted to the faith by, of course, by the preaching of Paul. And Prisca and Aquila, as husband and wife, became leaders in the early church. And they would gather the church in their house. But of course, in our context, we cannot do that. Why? Because of the COVID. So, actually, this is also a biblical basis for our BECs. But for the meantime, we just focus on our own family. So, this is something that is missing now because most often we do not gather. And children will have their own gimmicks and they will go on their way. And our parents are also so tired. Our grandparents have their own way of life also. And so, no, there seems to be no communion that's happening. And I think this is a grace-filled moment that we gather together. Now, another biblical basis is the First Corinthians letter, or the first letter of Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 16, verse 19. Now, this time, Paul was writing from Ephesus. "The churches of Asia send greetings. Aquila and Prisca, together with the church in their house, greet you warmly in the Lord." So, most probably, Prisca and Aquila, at the time of the writing of this letter to the Corinthians, was with Paul in Ephesus. No? So, sa ron, sa ginsulat ni Pedro, ang iyan na una nga sulat para sa mga taga-Korinto, gisulat niya ini sa syudad sa Ephesus. No? So, alin sa Ephesus, iya din padalaan sa sulat ang mga taga-Korinto. Kag upod ni Pablo, upod ni Pablo sa sininga panahon, amo si Aquila kag si Prisca. That's why the church, ang katilingban, ang simbahan nga ara sa ilang nga panimalay. And there are so many other shall we say biblical basis from the letters of Paul. One is from the letter to the Colossians, chapter 4, verse 14. It says, "Give my greetings to the brothers and sisters in Laodicea and to Nympha and the church in her house." Okay, so again, it shows that the church gathers in a house. Pero anong iya diri nga what what seems to be novel here? What is novel here is that the owner of the house where the church gather is a lady, a woman, Nympha by name. And sometimes we think that it's only patriarchal, the feminist controversy issues, and they would often say that we are so misogynistic, but that's wrong. Paul is not a misogynist. It's very clear here, because here he sends greetings to the brethren in Laodicea, as well as to Nympha, the leader of a house church there in Laodicea. And I think this is also true even now. Sa subong ng panahon, itong panahon natin, madamo sa mga lideres natin dito sa simbahan, especially for example, ng mga katilingba natin, sino mga leader? Hindi mga lalaki, hindi mga laban-laban, mga babae, kadamaan gidya babae, kadamaan niya sa simbahan babae. So, it's not surprising if today that is happening, because in the past it also happened. So hindi kita matingala nga kung na simbahan, halos tanan dira mga babae ang ara dira aktibo. Kajutay na sa mga lalaki. Kung matingala ka pa, well, you are forcing the matter already. Because by history, and history repeats itself, ang mga babae has this natural inclination to serve the Lord, no? Because they are, well, without stereotyping it, the women are more intuitively connected to God, while the men, well, they are sometimes in the leadership, but very few, because they are more practical naman, no? In terms of stereotyping na yan, pero more or less they are more concrete, practical, so they would just leave the church matters to the women. Anyway, not all cases, of course. And then there are so many other quotations that we can, but I think I should limit that here, and let us look into the Acts of the Apostles. You may want to refer to Acts chapter 18 verse 5 to 8. Here Paul was proclaiming the word, testifying to the Jews, but unfortunately they protested and they sent them out. The Christians, I mean the Jews sent the Christians away from their synagogue. So wala na sang may matabo, wala na sang option. So what's the option of the people now? Well, their option is to build their own or find their own place where they can gather as a church, and they found it in the house of the man named Titius Justus, who is a worshiper of God, and his house was next door to the synagogue, and later on it became also a Domus Ecclesiae. Okay, so practicalities now. I think what's important here is we have to recover the family as being church. That reality that our family is where we will find, we hope to find the three things that is a sort of a mark of a church, especially not the church, but the mark of a Christian reality, and that is communion, service, and prayer. Communio, diaconia, and liturgia. So in this time of the COVID health crisis, I think that is something that we can recover. Time together. Do not allow your children to go out, because if they continue to go out, wala na ganit klase, tapos panagawan mo sila ng panagawan, it defeats the purpose of social distancing. We sometimes have this wrong notion that social distancing it's in terms only of distance from each other, like 1 meter apart. No, that is just part of social distancing. Social distancing is a bigger strategy, and that is avoiding as much as possible mingling with other people. That is social distancing. No, hindi lang yung sila nga, ati, malago kami, mami, malago kami, daddy, pero 1 meter apart pa kami, hindi pa kami mag-hug, hindi pa kami mag-kiss, hindi pa kami mag-istorya, nilapitan. That is not the essence of social distancing. Social distancing means to minimize our socialization, to minimize our contact with other people. We have to isolate ourselves first. Pero, amo naman na, while we are isolating ourselves, we find, hopefully, a deeper bonding between the family members. Kung wala kay klase, postpone, iba wala kang ubra. Tapos sa ka mo inyo lagaw. Or wala makamagapagapay mo yung dati. It defeats the purpose of social distancing. Wala mang gyapon pag hari ka lagaw sa gwa. Kung sino-sino itong kalubilo mo, especially if you are young, you don't really mind all these things. And sometimes the young are asymptomatic, wala sa simptoma. O papulit na sila balay, may tigulang da. Nagari ka istorya, naglalabo ang laway. O nag-kiss sa tigulang, kaya nag-abot siya sa gwa. Usually, no, muna ang tabo. O may ka-kiss pa, o may ka-beso-beso pa. Okay? O tinalatnan to ang tigulang o ang mga vulnerable. So while we are distancing ourselves from the usual socialization that we have, which sometimes has become overemphasized already, at the expense of our family communion, I think we can increase our, hopefully, increase our communion as a family, our being together. Well, at this certain point in time, in terms of physical proximity. Yan. Kadua, in terms of service. Kung kaisa, amo na, kalipat kita nga sa balay, kung kaisa, nanay ng tatay, tanan nag-obra. Ang kabataan niya, paserbi na lang. Kaya I think we can find creative means nga kung diin, makita nato no, nga magbinuligay. Kaya for example, hindi sa maglaga o tipo hugasas ng pinggan. And all like that. And then, liturhiya. Pray together. I think this is the only weapon that we have to pray together as a family. As Father Peyton said, that the family that prays together stays together. Hopefully, this short video can help you come up with this idea of what we can do in terms of a spiritual life while we are having our community quarantine. Thank you, and hopefully you will see again our next video, which I'm going to publish or broadcast by next week. If you have any questions, just comment below, and hopefully you can subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.